Hey everybody, Rich here with Anglers, and joined by Brian McCormick with the Southern Girls Sportfish.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for being here.
Oh my God, you guys have been great supporters of mine from day one. Starting a new business, I can't thank you enough. It's my third year.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, we appreciate having you here. This seminar, we're going to talk about fishing with kids. So, I have children, take them fishing. I was a child at one point, was taken fishing. It's something, fishing's one of those things that, we've turned it into a career, but most of us start out at some point by being taken, usually by a parent or an older person, and it's something that you pass down, which is really kind of cool about it.
Yeah, one thing, cool for me today was seeing, someone like Sean, someone like Ronnie, all of us, at some point, we had a proper introduction and a good experience with fishing, but we wanted to keep doing it. Some of us so much so that we decided to make a career out of it.
Yep.
But, so at some point, for all of us here today that have been speaking, selling products, a parent or a guardian or an uncle, someone gave them a proper introduction to fishing. And I can tell you, I have 3 boys, and I've introduced all of them differently, and there's a right way to do it, and there's certainly a lot of mistakes that people make doing it too. So I founded Southern Girl with really trying to get kids out onto the bay, offer their computer screens and Game Boys, and let them know that, hey, there's a whole world out here and we need to experience it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, some of my fondest memories, going up to South Dakota with my family. I got pictures of me fishing with, my dad in the pond, catching little trout. My grandfather taught me how to cast a fly rod. I turned that into a fly, I guide fly fish, and as well as you guiding on the bay. And, one of the rewarding things as a guide is to see youngsters out there catching their first fish or learning how to cast a fishing rod for the first time. It can be a daunting task. Kids have a short attention span. So, when you have kids on the boat, what are some things that you're doing that you kind of keep their interest peaked? Like, what's some good tips to help keep kids involved in this?
Well, one of the main things, in this area, our seasons change so dramatically that there's a good time and a bad time to do it. With my first son, I took him out there during trophy season, and you take him out trolling, and the first thing you tell him is, don't touch this, don't touch that. Sit down, stay out of the cold weather. So what I do now is my kids trip focus a little bit later in the season, and it's more hands-on where you do want them touching things, you do want them enjoying it, and you want to go when there's almost a guarantee to catch fish. And I just don't want to take kids out there, spend a day to maybe catch one fish. I want to maximize my odds to show them a good experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one thing that I always try to emphasize to especially customers that are coming in that want to take their children fishing is it's hard for somebody that's been fishing so long and you catch so many different species and all this. We want to see our children catch really cool big fish, but lower your expectations. Lower them dramatically. Take them to a pond and go fishing for bluegill. When my kids were real young, we used to do this thing called chumming for bluegill. We would take old bread, and you'd break up bread into little pieces, and you'd create a whole handful of dough balls, and you'd put one of them on a hook. And you just have them drop it in the water, and you'd throw the handful out there. And you just watch all these bluegills come flying in, and inevitably one of them's going to eat the one with the hook, and it's really easy. And it's a fun, interactive thing. You get the kids involved with it. Taking them out, catching a nice big striper is a lot of fun, but that could be a long day on the boat with the kids. So start out small with the youngsters and even people that are new to it. Also with tackle, the other thing that I would suggest is there's nothing wrong with a push button.
No, not at all.
It's super easy to use. Anybody can do it, and it's really easy with the kids. It doesn't have to be a little kitty combo. It could be something a little bit nicer in push button world. But if they're ready to move to a spinning rod, they'll let you know because they'll be ready.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people talked about it earlier today, just keeping it simple. It's you got little hands, little feet, little attention spans, and I joke around with some of the other guides, and I say, look, I have the hardest clientele in the world, the most difficult clientele in the world, because they have no filter, and if I take them out there fishing, we go to the first spot, and the fish aren't biting, well, I'm going to hear it, from the littlest client on the boat.
That's right.
So, I make sure that we're going to a spot that's going to produce. And like you said, when someone takes their youngster out 5, 6, 7 years old to try to catch the biggest rockfish on the bay on their first trip, I think you're just setting yourself up for failure. Like you said, lower the expectations. Make that first day extremely fun. And like I said in our blurb with anglers, if you make that first day fun, you're really going to have a fishing partner for life, because they're going to want to go with you and want to go again. If you have that tough first day, then you're explaining, well, that was just a bad day, son, let's try it again tomorrow, and all of a sudden, he doesn't want to join you. But you do it the right way, and he's going to want to come along with you, and it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, absolutely. Now that my kids are in, they're both teenagers now, one of the things that they like is creating a bucket list. We have bucket lists, but our bucket lists are kind of extreme. I want to go down to Venezuela, catch a giant white marlin, but my kids have a bucket list, and it's as easy as taking the DNR rule book that you get when you buy a license, and they have it digitally online. In the middle of that book, they have all the different species. There's little pictures that tells you the creel limit and the size. My kids have turned that into a checklist. So you go in and, we're going to go out, we're going to go fishing today, and let's see how many different species we can catch. Or you look at a species and you go, okay, well, I want to go fishing for a pickerel. Well, we're not going to go out in the middle of the day for a pickerel. We're going to stay in the rivers. And so it kind of helps us choose what we're going to do that day, and it becomes that target species. You see how many you can catch in a week, how many can you catch in a month, how many can you catch this year, which of this list have we not caught yet. It's something good for anybody really to have, but for kids, you can turn it into kind of a game. You can turn it into something where there are little achievements along the way that keep their interest peaked instead of just keep going. Take them to the pond in the beginning and catch bluegill, but once you caught the bluegill, now it's time to find something different, because those bluegill will get old quick, even though they're fun. I catch bluegill and they're so much fun, but same thing with white perch too. But coming up with that next target species, and it may take them somewhere else, to a river or to a different pond or something. Yeah,
just listening to you talk about it, as the kids grow up, you have opportunities for all those bigger fish. I had I think a 13-year-old on there get a citation Spanish mackerel this year, and I had a father come back father and son for his second trip this year, and he said, that picture we took at sunset with that striper that we caught? Now, this wasn't a big striper, it was maybe 18, 19 inches. But he's like, that's beside his bed, and he talks about it all the time. So it feels really good to be able to go out there and do those kind of things.
Yeah, absolutely. There's other things too, like International Game Fish Association, IGFA. They're the ones that keep the world records, and you might not be going after a world record, but they also do release records. So you could actually fill out paperwork online and just have an acknowledgement certificate, so to speak. There's other organizations that do stuff like that. You do some research, and it's a kind of a nice thing that no matter what age they are, as kids, you've achieved it. You caught that fish, and here's this piece of paper that's kind of official that they can hold and hang on the wall or whatever with. So it's even something you can make up yourself too. You can make your own little certificate.
Yeah, and there's so much else out there, even other than the fishing. You get out, you come out of the Magathy, and I do a little thing where I say, hey guys, there's going to be a surprise around the corner here. Let me know when somebody sees it. And they see the far part of the Bay Bridge, and I say, well, they finally figure out, it's the Bay Bridge. And then you start talking about the time, where do they vacation, what about the time they caught those big perch by piling 17, et cetera. So it just opens up so much, and to be out there sharing it with your kids, or my clients in my case, it's just really something special to do. And you just see them really open up, especially after that rod starts bending on the first or second fish. Just like on our big boy fishing trips, the mood lightens, and everybody's starting the elbowing and the bragging, and it happens with kids. You see 4-year-old, 5-year-old out there start giving his dad a hard time about him out fishing his dad.
That's right.
So it's really sweet to see, and it's nice to think that I gave him that first experience. But like you said, even getting on the boat, it's a whole different language. Boating, you have port, starboard, bow, stern. So we teach them all that when they get on, and really try to make it a little bit of an educational experience. But one of the things we haven't touched on is just really keeping it short. I try to keep the kids' trips to 2 hours, and I find that that really fits their attention span. You come back in when the fish are still biting, they want to go again. We push it another half hour or so if they're having a good time, and we always leave a little time in between trips to do that. And you have to read the clients too. We've come back in early sometimes. Some little girl's scared of the boat rocking, and little boys not comfortable with the boat rocking. It just wasn't what he's expecting, and and you can read their personalities and things. I'm sure all your kids are different as mine are.
Oh, no, absolutely. And I think you brought a good point. You want to make sure that you leave them wanting more, right? Keep that trip just short enough that they're catching fish. You're like, well, we got to get going. We got to get dinner, or mom wants us home, or whatever it is. Nah, I really want to stay. Well, we'll come back. We'll come back. We'll come back tomorrow. We'll come back next weekend. And you make it a repetitive thing, and then they're begging you. They're getting off of school and they're like, "Is there no sunlight left? Can we go fishing today?" That's the excitement. You kind of get them ramped up for it. Another tackle tip that I'll give too is, especially with younger kids, try to focus on single hook baits. So there's a couple companies that actually make lures, like hard-bodied lures, that have single hooks on them, really geared towards children. Treble hooks can be kind of a daunting thing to deal with. And even for us adults sometimes, they can be kind of scary. But definitely look at single hooks. If you're using bait and you're using like a top and bottom rig, don't be afraid to just put one hook on. You double your chances of getting the hook with two hooks. So just keep things simple. I think that's the biggest advice I can give, is keep things as simple as possible. As a seasoned fisherman, it can be taunting to do that, because you've been fishing a long time, we've been fishing a long time, the parents have probably been doing it a long time. You got to step back to the basics.
Yeah, and one of the other things that the kids like to do on my boat is we have a little live well on the back, and although we don't keep the fish on the kids' trips, we do let them put them in the live well, and they see it, see the fish swimming around, and we teach them very tactile, let them touch the fish, hold the fish, and inevitably put the fish back in the water with the dip net.
Yep.
And that to them, that's more fun than catching the fish a lot of the times, depending on the age group. So it's really sweet to see.
Well, yeah, that's a good point too. Like we've been talking about, making an educational experience. When I'm on the river and I have kids with me, we're pointing out with the birds. We're looking for fish, even though we may not try to catch those fish for whatever reason. Point out the other things in nature, like you said. When you're going out, you're pointing out different landmarks. Maybe it's a lighthouse or something. And then the conservation side, like you said, teaching them good practices that if you're going to release a fish, make sure your hands are wet so that they don't get as slimy, and it's better for the fish, and explain to them why. And you're letting them go so they can get bigger, and you can go back and catch them the next time. So make it fun, make it interactive. I think that's the biggest thing. All too often I see anglers that don't really enjoy their time out on the water, in the respect that they're more worried about catching that fish, getting it in, letting it go, and getting the next one. Enjoy the one you got.
Yeah, enjoy it while it's on there.
It could be the only one of the day. Enjoy it as much as possible, and that's how kids are. Enjoy every one.
Yeah, when I started the business, I was trying to think of a tagline, so I came up with recreation, education, conservation.
Nice.
So, did we have fun? Did we learn something? Did we give back to natural resources? And I think doing that, I think it's something really good, and I'm just going to keep on going.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and the last piece of advice that I would have would be take a camera. Take lots of pictures, of every fish. The biggest, the smallest, it doesn't matter. If they got that fish in their hand, take a picture and make sure you got those big smiles, because that's something you'll cherish forever. And it's something that you'll hand down, and then eventually they will be showing those pictures to their kids or to some other youngster to say, this was me. Let's go out and have that experience together. So
yeah, do you remember the first fish you ever caught?
I can't say I remember the first, because I was probably too small, but I'm sure there's a picture of it somewhere. I got lots of pictures of fish I don't remember.
So what was with all your experience, what's been your greatest catch?
My greatest catch? Well,
most special.
More recently, I will say that it did involve my children. I was actually at the gunpowder fly fishing with my kids, and there was a rainbow trout that we saw. There's not a ton of rainbow on the gunpowder, and it was not wanting anything that we were throwing at it. And we probably spent the better part of an hour, which is against everything that I believe when it comes to this. You don't, on the gunpowder, you just keep moving on. We were destined to catch this fish, and I took the advice of my children, and we ended up catching it. Another one too, sometimes you got to listen to your children. My younger son's going to watch this and he's going to point it out, but we were fishing the lower gunpowder for smallmouth, and I wanted to go a little bit farther downriver. He saw this big submerged rock, and he was like, I want to fish over there. He had taught him structure. You got to look for fish. You got to look for places the fish are hiding. He was telling me there's a fish over there. I'm like, nah, let's keep moving down. He made a beeline. He was waist deep in water. It was summertime, and he caught a very, very, very nice smallmouth all on his own. While I'm just standing like, all right, I'll let you give you 5 minutes. He will not let me live it down to this day. So, once you've gotten them some information, let them take charge every now and then. Let them kind of decide where they're going to go and what they're going to do. And sometimes it'll surprise you.
Yeah, it's we get out there, and if I have, meet the family for the first time, have a couple kids on board, I usually, kind of see what they're doing, and maybe he's not letting his bait hit the bottom, or he's not being patient. I'll kind of tell him a story. I say, I had this kid on the boat yesterday. He didn't catch anything. Well, why not? He would not leave his bait on the bottom. He just kept reeling it up, and you see the wheels turning, and off it comes. And
That's right.
Of course, he hooks up, and we have a good day. But they're not all great days. Even kids fishing, it's still fishing.
Yep, it's right. It's right. It's fishing, not catching, right? Well, I think that about does it for us.
Awesome.
If you guys are interested in any of the kids stuff, we got plenty of stuff down here, all the kids combos, and we can definitely hook you up with some rigs and lures that'll work well for youngsters. If you guys are interested in taking a charter out, give Brian a call. So we definitely want to get you guys out on the water. Thanks for tuning in, and make sure you guys stop down to see the rest of the festivities today and tomorrow.
You got it. Thank you guys so much. Lindsay, thank you so much for having me today.
You are welcome.
Thanks for being here. Thank you. Good luck, guys. Have fun.